Welcome back to Buzz TV. I'm Steve Strum. This morning we have Michael Ondina from Evergreen Cemetery Association. Good morning.
Good morning.
So, Evergreen Cemetery is a historic cemetery in the nation located in Jacksonville.
Nation may be a little bit of a stretch. It's well known around the country, but I think that certainly in the state of Florida, it's extremely well known. The historic nature of it and the size and beauty of the cemetery is well known throughout the state.
Tell us a little bit about your firm.
Evergreen Cemetery started in 1880. It's a 167-acre cemetery. We have nearly 10 miles of paved roads. It's on the National Register of Historic Places. And we have over 100 years. A lot of people are asking us, do you still have a lot of property out there? Well, certainly we do. We have over 100 years of burial property still remaining on the cemetery grounds. It's a wonderful place, historic place. It's a real historic treasure, I think, for the city of Jacksonville.
So we were talking a little offset. You've been in business for a little bit of time, a couple centuries, yeah. And but new to the organization is some additional services to help some of your families that are laying people to their final resting place through the process. Tell us a little bit about some of the things that your company has now that you've developed.
Yeah, we are calling ourselves now Evergreen Cemetery, Funeral Home, and Crematory. We're in our third year with our funeral home and crematory, providing those services directly to the families, property owners, and people who are going to be laid to rest in other cemeteries. We've also helped them, including the National Cemetery and other cemeteries in Jacksonville through our funeral home. But with the funeral home now, we're able to kind of complete our circle of service where a family can come to us and everything can be handled at that one place.
Where it's having lost folks in my family and folks that have lost people of theirs, it's a very trying time.
Sure.
So you are trying to help those families have efficient process is not the appropriate way to say that, giving the tough time, but trying to make a situation that's inherently horrific maybe a little less bad, if you will.
Sure. It takes a lot of stress off the families to be able to do everything in one location like we do, and also there's a cost savings involved with that by doing it in one place, and so yes, it does take a lot of stress off the families at a very difficult time.
And you were talking about the cost savings component. You guys are a little different. You are actually in a not-for-profit status as a cemetery.
Yeah, Evergreen Cemetery Association is a not-for-profit corporation. It's locally owned here, and we have a board of trustees that are all local businessmen here in the city. And I run the cemetery and the funeral home, but the Evergreen Cemetery Association is a not-for-profit company that owns the funeral home as well as the cemetery.
So tell our audience that may not understand that difference. What does that mean when you're a not-for-profit cemetery?
What that really means is that I think to a consumer,
yes,
the benefit to a consumer is that if you have your burial property at Evergreen Cemetery, and you use our funeral home and cemetery services, our monuments, memorials, and do everything in one location with us, what that means is that if there is a surplus or money left over from that transaction, that it goes right back into the cemetery where your loved one's buried. We're not a corporation that money's going to be, we're not on a NASDAQ, we're not on a New York Stock Exchange. We don't have an owner who's going to benefit financially from the transaction. The money stays right in the cemetery. As a matter of fact, Evergreen has the largest trust funds dedicated to care and maintenance of the cemetery of any cemetery in the state of Florida.
Interesting.
What that means is that when you have your property with us at Evergreen, it's going to be taken care of in perpetuity because we do have the largest trust funds, and we truly can take care of the property on into the future because of those trust funds, and that's because we put money aside as we go along for that purpose. And once again, it's a not-for-profit status has benefited us in that area.
So if people want to connect with you, and you do tours, I think we were talking about actually historic tours of the cemetery,
yes,
of which some of the founder, you were mentioning Isaiah Hart, who a bridge in Jacksonville is named after, who is the founder of said Jacksonville, is laid to rest there.
Yeah, he's one. We have most of the people, I guess everyone, I think every person that's bridge is named after is laid to rest at our cemetery, but I go through a list. I mean, we have 5 Florida governors laid to rest there. We have 10 Jacksonville mayors. We have Pulitzer Prize winners. We have Titanic passengers. We have Hall of Fame baseball players, other Major League baseball players. We have a lot of people there with a lot of history. That really, I think the cemetery is a real cultural resource and a historic resource for the city.
If people want to find out more, whether it's during their laying to rest of a family member, or if they want to find out more about the historical significance or take a tour, how do they connect with you?
Well, information is on our website, which is evergreenjacks.com. The information is there, but they can call our office, Evergreen Cemetery, Funeral and Crematory, and we would love to, if anyone's interested, we would love to set up a tour where you can go on a historic tour of the cemetery and really see how wonderful the place is and learn a little bit of history about Jacksonville.
It's almost like a snapshot, time capsule, if you will, of the evolution of our city.
Absolutely, and we have a lot of knowledge of who's there and what they've done and the impact they have had, and it's a wonderful thing to do. We'd be glad to do that with anybody, but once again, we hope that everybody will consider us when they're in need of our services.
Thank you for joining us this morning. It was a very interesting dynamic within the final laying of somebody to rest. That's amazing. Guys, thanks for joining us on Buzz TV. If you like us, share us, and remember, live with gratitude.